Hello, RVM. It's Father Joel, and I'm here with the infamous Pastor Stacy at First Christian Church, and we're here to talk to you about the Gospel of John today, verses 12, verse 20. But before we begin, Pastor Stacy's going to read for us. This is going to be our last spiritually speaking for a while, isn't it?
It is. We're going to take a little break and do some other things.
Do some other things, and Vespers going to start up again at the Manor, and so we'll be doing live Vespers. If not having people in the auditorium, it'll be on 900, so you'll be able to witness it on 900 like you watch this video. But since I don't know what I'm going to see you, and your multicultural color dress, I am just grateful that I've had almost a year.
I know. It's been a long time.
You've been stuck with me for a year.
I have. I deserve some kind of medal, I'd say.
Or reward.
Yeah.
I mean, she babysitted me for almost a year.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody at the Manor is happy.
Happy about that.
Happy.
Yeah.
And she has her own fan club at the Manor who like her a lot. And so we'll have to pray for them as they grieve the Pastor Stacy fix.
Right. Well, I'm here every Sunday at 10:30, so. All right. Well, for today, we are looking at chapter 12 of John. We start at verse 20. Now, among those who went up to worship at the festival were some Greeks. They came to Philip, who was from Bethsaida in Galilee, and said to him, "Sir, we wish to see Jesus." Philip went and told Andrew. Then Andrew and Philip went and told Jesus. Jesus answered them, "The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Very truly I tell you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains just a single grain. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. Those who love their life lose it, and those who hate their life in this world will keep it for eternal life. Whoever serves me must follow me, and where I am, there will my servant be also. Whoever serves me, the Father will honor. Now my soul is troubled, and what should I say? Father, save me from this hour? No, it is for this reason that I have come to this hour. Father, glorify your name." Then a voice came from heaven, "I have glorified it, and I will glorify it again." The crowd standing there heard it and said that it was thunder. Others said, "An angel has spoken to him." Jesus answered, "This voice has come for your sake, not for mine. Now is the judgment of this world. Now the ruler of this world will be driven out. And I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself." He said this to indicate the kind of death he was to die. This is the word of God, and it can be trusted.
Wow. There's so many bullets in this passage.
For real. It's a biggie.
It is a biggie. You know, the first one that I want to talk about is the one that I probably struggle with the most. In verse 27. Now my soul is troubled, and what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour. No, it was for this very reason I came to this hour. Father, glorify your name. Two things. One, I'm using save me, God. You know, when I drank in the military, I said I'd never drink again.
Oh yeah.
Save me. You know, when I went before a test that I didn't study for, save me, God. Give me the wisdom. Give me the skill set. When I take a driver's test when I was 16, save me, God. When I'm almost in an accident or I hear bad news about somebody else, save them. Save me. And so my first request when I yell out for God to save me is pretty Joel-centered.
Mm-hmm.
You know, save me. You know, it's a petition. Deliver me from this situation. You know, and here Jesus says, is this what I'm supposed to say? Because I think it's a human response. It's a human petition in a time of need. I myself hardly ever, in the midst of my own challenges or struggles, in the midst of them, say, well, this must be for the reason I came. This is happening for a reason.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, just get me out
No.
of it.
Get me. No. When I'm in pain or I'm struggling or I'm in anger or I'm fighting with somebody, I'm not saying, well, I'm struggling, this is a redemptive form. No. I'm saying, get me out of here. And this flips it up on the head and says, wait a minute. I know I'm human. I'm wanting to put an answer to this. And oftentimes, why is this happening? And I really reject a lot of my Christian brothers and sisters who say, well, it's happening for a reason.
Right.
That shows non-empathetic listening.
Yeah.
And it makes a judgment on something we don't know.
Right.
But I should ask myself in my own challenges, is this happening? And what's the reason? And how is God going to be glorified in this?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, there's different times that we can hear that question differently. And in the midst of acute grief or remorse, probably isn't the time to be telling someone that it's happening for a reason. But a lot of times, like with my daughter, when she had a, falling out with some friends and it was awful, and, she felt pretty junky about it for a while. But one of the things after, there's some mourning over the loss, we say, so did you learn anything from the experience? And then, it becomes something that you can see the benefit of, but in the midst of the weeping and gnashing of teeth,
right.
Not the time.
No,
not the time to have that conversation.
No,
so.
and even to make a pronouncement of another person, they're in a better place, or well, it's got to be. You might be able to do it for yourself, and I even wrestle with that.
Sure.
I'm not sure I'm going to accept any reason.
Yeah.
But most of the time, since I've been a chaplain, my best chaplaincy has been when someone says, can you tell me why this has happened to me? As they find out they have cancer. And I know when I was a beginning chaplain, I just said, no, I don't. But I can walk with you on this journey.
Yeah.
And I walked with that person that I'm specifically talking about. And because I walked with them, they lived a couple hours, 3 hours away from the hospital. They asked me to do the service, and I did do the service, but I couldn't. I don't know why suffering takes place.
Right.
I can give a theological answer, but in the midst of it, I'm not going to hear that.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I was even last night. Most of you know that I was a hospital chaplain, part time, and even last night, someone had a heart attack, massive heart attack, and they said, can you explain why this happened? And the poor international doctor came in and talked for 15 minutes, and through 2 minutes into the speech, the family was checked out. She was giving a technical response to an emotional reaction. And so let us be very cautious about when people ask questions. What's the motivation behind the question, and what's really the question asking for? And I have to be really careful, because I want to give an answer.
Sure.
But there is no
right.
good answer.
There's some sense of comfort in sort of having the answer.
Right.
Just such a global question, so.
And I'm sorry I'm taking all your time here,
It's
but
all good.
you know as well as I do that we pastors oftentimes will give an answer to make us feel better.
Right.
Because we're insecure about what's going on. So we got to feel better about ourselves, and so we're going to give an answer. And I see that a lot with lay people as well.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I think the last thing I would say about that too is that this is Jesus, and Jesus, I believe, had a knowledge of his mission that is different from the way I have knowledge of my mission. And so, uniquely, he really does know that this was the hour that he's been preparing for, and so, I don't have to be Jesus, thank goodness, and it's okay when I say save me instead of just embracing the suffering, and I think
Like if we were on a boat together and we were drowning, you say, "Save me, God." I don't know about Joel, but
forget him.
Yes, save me.
Oh, yes.
You're the kind of person that says,
I am.
God loves everybody, but you're
Except
his favorite.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, I thought so. I knew you were that kind of pastor.
It's pretty transparent.
Yeah.
This has no theological relevance whatsoever. I think,
that's been the whole last year.
But, right. Here we go again. But that for some reason, the part of this that just like screamed at me this time, and is just the people went and they saw Philip. I'm not sure why it matters that he was from Bethsaida, but they saw him and they say, "Hey, we want to see Jesus." And Philip doesn't just go to Jesus. Like he goes to Andrew, says, "Hey, these people want to see Jesus." And then together they go to Jesus. Like sometimes I just wonder what was going on with the writer that this would be the thing that needed to be spoken about. But it just, there's something like middle schooly about it, like get your friend and go. But just another point that he's surrounded by disciples, he's with his people as this is happening. I do think we need to back up a little bit and see what's been happening right before this text, because the raising of Lazarus isn't that far in front of this, and that really triggered people. They say the raising of Lazarus caused the crucifixion of Jesus. That the folks became alerted to Jesus in a different way when Lazarus was raised.
Wow, I never heard that.
I just was reading about it today. It
triggered a fear.
Yeah, he's bringing people back from the dead, and that would freak me out. Right. I have to say. And in this culture, it was power. I mean, it's still in our culture too, but differently. Power was such a thing, and so if this guy can raise people from the dead, imagine how he's threatening our power. And so that really did have an effect on folks not wanting him around. And so I think it's safe to say that the folks who say we want to see Jesus aren't having his best interest at heart. And so the teaming up of Philip and Andrew may have been about numbers at that point, more than anything. But and then, like last week, we have the voice from heaven. It has different words for us this week a little bit, but one of the things, to me, the words that are, I have glorified it and I will glorify it again, that piece of I will glorify it again, this isn't the end of this story, and that there's reason to be hopeful, even though it's looking pretty grim right now.
The thing that spoke to me this week, and it spoke to me about an hour ago, but where Jesus says, very, very truly I tell you, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a seed, but if it dies, it produces many seeds. There's many interpretations you can go here with. I appreciate that oftentimes the church was raised and grew by people who are willing to put themselves at stake to martyrdom, or put them at stake to die, to stand up for their convictions. And I think about that even outside of the church, people who are willing to stick up for their convictions and the harassment or the persecution that they have to endure. Here, I think anything that's going to live has to die, not only from a biological point of view, which is important, but also from an ego point of view. I really I'm convicted, I have an identity, I really want something to follow through, or I want something to grow. Part of me has to die with it, or part of me has to release it. Okay, this is outside of me now. Right. I have shared this, it's now going to grow its own way. But I've got to die to it, so it's not about me. Yeah. It's not about my ministry, it's about God's ministry. As we in ministry wrestle with, this is really about God doing a new work in us, not me champion for something. but also I think biologically, he uses the seed metaphor. I think that's so important that, in order to release and to let go, or to release a need for control, that's my issue. It won't grow. It won't grow. It won't develop. It won't spread. The good news can't be the good news. And I think that's really important. And about an hour ago, I was talking with Doug, who is the son of a former resident who passed away. And over the years, I got to know Doug. And Doug and I became really close, and he does a lot with youth in the community. Well, he got COVID, and his wife got COVID. And she passed away yesterday morning. Yeah, she passed away. And I heard from another worker who's really close with his wife, who came to my office and was crying. And she goes, "Could you call Doug?" I said, "Yes." I don't connect with Doug often, but when we do connect, it's solid. And he said, one of the most beautiful things. He goes, "I'm mad."
Sure.
But one of the most, even in his anger, which I would have, he said, one of the most beautiful things is my wife had a ministry around the world, and I'm able to see all the seeds that were planted because of her work that will continue to grow after she's gone.
Yeah.
And I think that's called legacy.
For sure.
And whether you're religious or non-religious, I think we ask ourselves, what's our legacy? What do we leave behind, and what will grow after we're gone?
Yeah, that's pretty huge. I am from Southern California, and there was a church in downtown Los Angeles, basically a cathedral church, gorgeous, dwindling congregation, and it took them a while, but they decided that they wanted to create something different and new out of their church. They sold their building to a church that is doing incredibly well in that space, but then use that money to rehab our regional church camp, that's there. So I just think, I know that a lot of churches have this focus on being so afraid to die, and I have some of that anxiety myself, and I get that, but when I see things like that, I think, but look what can be created if you can die gracefully, and
right. Both individually and corporate, and
exactly.
Communally, as a community.
Yep. If you can see that and figure out a way to do that so that life does come from it. Right. I think that's pretty huge. And I mean, it's the story of Easter. It's so remarkable. I mean, love that, spring is beginning to happen around us, but seeing kind of that transition where there are still those dead leaves on the ground and buds coming out on the trees, and just such a good reminder of kind of the cycle of things and how they work, the large deaths, but also just kind of those smaller things. What do we need to let go of, and in order to make space for newness of life to happen. So
that is a really good point. I'm thinking about something that I think, one of the easiest ways to not only plant seeds, but, to engage the cyclical process of growth is by blessing people. And so a couple weeks back, I was at the hospital, and I was working with some staff, some nurses, and it was so fun to be around them, and they were a blessing to me. And so as I left, I just said, thank you for being open and for, welcoming me to this team, because I only come in once a month maybe, and every time I come in, you're so loving and supportive, and I'm like, thank you. And so I think I tried to bless them. I said, I want to give you a blessing and say of thank you, because you've been a blessing for me. And I think the cyclical process of planting seeds right now manifests itself in how I feel blessed and how I bless others.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm giving this text its due, but that's what I take from this text.
Yeah.
How do I plant seeds? I feel blessed, and I do blessing.
Absolutely. I think for me, kind of the take home this week is just around hope. in general. There's multiple pieces in here that point to hope, and hope even in times of difficulty and loss. Calling me to remember to be hopeful even when I can't see necessarily what I'm being hopeful for. I think for me is part of the call in this text this week. How about you?
You know, this statement just it moves me. I don't know what it's saying to me yet. It's got to continue to talk to me,
Mm-hmm.
but I love it. It says, Jesus says, whoever serves me must follow me. Okay.
Right.
You know,
It makes sense.
whoever serves, I mean, it's real simplistic, and yet at the same time, it's real deep.
Right.
Whoever serves me must follow me.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important, because I can get so caught up in the ministry of Joel, or I can get so caught up in championing something that I think needs to happen that there's collateral damage all around. In fact, the joke was this week I was talking with Nancy Maxwell. No, I was talking to Anya. I don't know.
Talking to somebody.
I talked to both of them this week, but Anya said, "Well, what could you got the phone for?" Because she bought an iPhone, and she goes, "Well, I got it for $200." She goes, "What could you've got it?" Because I said, "Well, didn't you even get it?" You know, so I said, she goes, "What could you've got the phone for?" I said, "I would have got them to give you $200 to take the phone."
Oh, Lord.
She starts shaking her head. I said, "Yeah." I said, I can get you a deal, but there'll be collateral damage all around.
All over
They'll
the place.
never want to work with you again. But you'll get the price.
Get out now.
Get out. You know, sympathy vote. Get out. We'll give you your phone. Just get out of the store. But this is the thing: is it, you know, those who want to serve me, and a lot of people want to serve, must follow. That means it's not just about following the word and the will of God. It's following in the ways of God.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's like, how can I respect this coworker, or how can I respect this phone salesperson, and at the same time get the best deal possible?
Right.
Yeah. That's, you know, it's not so much a religious passage for me. It's like, how do I follow in Christ's footsteps and be respectful and don't try to manipulate or cheat the system and get this and get that? And that's tough for Joel.
Mm-hmm.
That's because I want to get the best deal possible, and I'm gonna.
And who cares? Who's Jesus?
Yeah, who's
What's
Jesus?
his name?
Yeah, I was at the store the day. I said, "You got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them." So I think I'm in Mexico. I'm at Dick's Sporting Goods. And I'm only going to give this much for it. And they said, "No, you're going to."
Wrong country,
my
there,
kids
buddy.
are sitting here like this. Please, I don't know
Right.
this person. I said, "Well, you can keep the sweater. We're out of here."
Oh my gosh.
My kids don't even want to go shopping with me anymore.
I don't doubt that.
I know.
Yeah. I don't either. I'll hang out with your kids.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I take with me. You know,
Yeah.
how can I follow in the ways of Christ in a peaceful, contemplative stance, loving, and still try to do something that influences an outcome that I want without trying to be manipulative or conniving?
Yeah. Maybe you can't. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I mean, maybe you can.
Father Stacy has given me absolution. Thank you.
I'm not giving you absolution. I'm just telling you might not be able to win.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope that you can, but what I'm saying is that you may have to give up the deal.
See, I interpreted it
totally
different.
Yeah.
Well, I can't do it. I can't change. It's my nature.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I'm going to continue to be a jerk. Our last time was spiritually speaking, and we're still on different
in a
pages.
Train wreck.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to pray for you and your children and your shopping.
That's
sprees.
helped over the last year.
We'll pray for you.
Yeah. Pray for my children.
Yeah, but I will pray for your children. Yeah. Hey, I do want to say thank you for the last year. I have had a ton of fun and will miss it, and am grateful to you all for giving us an excuse to hang out and talk theology every week for a while. So it's been fun, and I look forward to to seeing those of you at the manor when I come up to do Vespers periodically. So,
Right. I'll
yeah.
have to take more medicine because you kept me pretty
Even
calm,
keel.
even keel, and you know, accountable. And so now without Pastor Stacy in my life, you know, and
We'll just put the Prozac
I'll
in
have-
his water.
yeah, Anya's
Yeah.
on her own now, and Rosa's got to watch over me.
Oh,
So it's
Rosa.
yeah. So, but thank you too.
Yeah.
It's been beautiful, and I am sure because of our creative energies, we will come up with something probably different,
Yep,
but equally as inviting and entertaining.
absolutely. All right. Have a good week.
Blessings.